Today is the 18th of June. And maybe this morning, as you reached for your toothbrush or folded the same towel again, you felt it. That heavy ache no one ever talks about. The ache of not being touched. It's not just physical. It's deeper than a hug, stronger than a kiss. It's the ache of a soul that longs to be noticed, held, cherished, not for what you do, but for who you are. And you haven't felt that kind of touch in years. Her name is Angela, a 52-year-old Christian woman from South Carolina, a mother of 3 grown children, a wife, though that word has felt hollow lately. She spends her days making sure others are okay. Grocery runs, phone calls, church meals, birthday reminders, care packages for her daughter in college, her husband's prescriptions. But no one asks when she last felt warmth. Not the kind from a coffee mug, the kind from a lingering hand. A sincere compliment. A kiss that didn't feel like routine. She couldn't remember the last time someone brushed a hair from her face or looked into her eyes like she was more than background noise. And worse, she couldn't remember the last time she let herself need it. You see, Angela didn't just feel untouched. She felt unworthy of being touched. Because life taught her early. Keep going. Don't complain. Faithful women endure. Good mothers put themselves last. God is your strength. Be strong. But strength had become a prison, and love the tender healing kind felt like a memory someone else got to keep. This morning, as she folded towels in the laundry room, her body felt heavier than usual. And out of nowhere, tears welled up in her eyes. She wasn't sad about anything specific. It was everything at once. The ache of absence, the echo of neglect, the quiet realization that she had not been truly seen, much less touched, in a very long time. She pressed a hand to her chest and whispered without meaning to, "Jesus, do you still see me?" The room stayed silent, but her spirit felt something strange, like warmth across her shoulder, like someone had draped a cloak around her, like the air itself had become more tender. And that's when she heard it, not with her ears, but inside where only heaven can speak. A voice, calm, familiar, deep as thunder, soft as rain. "You are still embraced." And then she remembered the dream. 2 nights ago, she'd seen herself walking through a garden alone, until a figure appeared shining with light, fierce and beautiful, with wings that shimmered like flame and sapphire. She hadn't been afraid. She'd felt known. The figure didn't speak in the dream, but as he touched her shoulder, she woke up weeping. Today, she knew. It had been Archangel Michael, and he hadn't come to give instructions. He had come to remind her, heaven doesn't forget the touched who feel untouched. Heaven remembers every woman who quietly breaks inside but keeps loving anyway. If you're Angela right now, if your soul is starved for affection and your heart quietly wonders if touch is only for the young, the bold, the celebrated, you need to hear this. You are not forgotten. You are not invisible. You are not unfavored. Heaven is still near. And the embrace of God is not symbolic. It is real. It is present. It is reaching for you now. Angela walked through the grocery store later that day, her eyes scanning the shelves without really seeing anything. People passed her, brushed shoulders, offered polite nods, but not one person truly looked at her. And the strange thing? She wasn't surprised. She was used to it. Angela had become an expert at being unnoticed, not because she was forgettable, but because she had been trained by life, by duty, by religion even to not expect anything in return. And that's what made this emptiness so cruel. She didn't feel like she had the right to mourn the absence of touch. She had a roof, food, children who occasionally remembered to call, a husband who wasn't cruel, just absent. From the outside, her life looked fine. She was blessed. But blessings that go unacknowledged can begin to feel like burdens. And even the faithful break when touch is replaced by tasks. Archangel Michael whispered a truth into her spirit that she wrote down in her journal later that night. Heaven counts the touches you needed, but never received. Angela sat with that for a long time, and something deep in her broke open. Not just tears. Memories. The time she came home from the hospital after her third child and sat alone in the nursery. The time she cooked an anniversary meal and he barely noticed. The time she wore that soft blue dress, the one he once loved, and he walked past her like she was wallpaper. Moments of invisibility. Moments where her heart reached out and found nothing waiting to meet it. It wasn't just about physical intimacy. It was about presence. Being chosen. Being remembered. Michael continued his message. The untouched soul becomes the unseen soul, and the unseen soul begins to shrink. That's why so many women like Angela feel hollow, not because they lack faith, but because the world trained them to believe that faith without affection is somehow noble. But Jesus never treated people like that. He touched the leper. He wept beside Mary. He let the bleeding woman grasp the hem of his robe. He didn't just heal with power, he healed with nearness. And he still does. Angela's journey was never about blaming anyone. It was about naming what had gone unnamed for years. I need to be touched by love again. And that's not weakness. That's honesty. And heaven responds to honesty like fire responds to oxygen. She began practicing what Michael called the ritual of re-entry. Each night, before bed, she stood in front of her mirror, placed a hand over her heart, closed her eyes, and whispered this: I am still someone worth holding. Sometimes she imagined Jesus behind her, resting his hand over hers. Other nights, she imagined his mother Mary brushing the hair from her face like a mother does for her child. Not because it was fantasy, but because heaven uses imagination to reopen what trauma tried to seal shut. Touch doesn't always begin with skin. It begins with spirit, with belief, with letting the love of God go deeper than memory and into the parts we locked away. Angela didn't feel instantly better, but she felt tender again, and in her spirit that felt like resurrection. Angela sat in church the following Sunday, her usual spot third pew from the front end seat. She had listened to the same pastor for years, sang the same songs, took notes in the same old floral notebook. But this Sunday felt different, because something inside her had shifted. She no longer wanted to just listen to truth. She wanted to feel it again, to believe that she was still capable of being moved, not by obligation, but by love. Archangel Michael had been speaking steadily in her spirit all week. Every whisper, every pause, every unspoken ache in her heart was being answered, not by logic, but by invitation. And on Saturday night, he revealed it fully. The system heaven uses to restore the untouched, to call the neglected back to joy, to bring the unseen back into communion with divine affection. Michael called it the embrace sequence. 3 movements. 3 doors back to heaven's touch. 3 sacred reminders that you are not forgotten by God. Step 1. Permission to long again. Angela had stopped hoping for affection. She'd settled for usefulness. That's what life teaches women like her. If you're not adored, at least be dependable. But Michael's first whisper came gently and firmly. You are allowed to need. You are allowed to want holy closeness. You are allowed to long for touch again. Longing is not weakness. Longing is a signpost of the Spirit crying out for reconnection. And Jesus never rebuked the ones who reached for him. He drew them closer. Angela began praying bold, simple prayers again. Lord, hold me. Touch what no human has touched in years. Let me feel known again. And the longing returned, not as sadness, but as sacred fire. Step 2. Presence over performance. Angela was faithful. She never missed a Sunday, volunteered at every event, brought casseroles to grieving families, sent birthday cards. But in doing all the things, she had forgotten how to just be. Michael whispered, You are not heaven's employee. You are heaven's beloved. Angela wept the first time she heard that. because somewhere deep down, she had believed her affection from God was tied to how well she served others. So she did something strange the next morning. She didn't open her planner. She didn't rush into chores. She sat, put on soft worship music, lit a candle, and whispered, "Jesus, I'm not here to do anything for you. I'm just here to be with you." And for the first time in years, her body relaxed into presence, not into pressure, not into proving her worth, but into peace. Step 3. Physical sacredness. Angela had forgotten her body mattered. Decades of caregiving, aging, hormonal changes, dismissive glances, and lonely nights had taught her to ignore her own skin. She prayed with her mouth. But she forgot her skin could pray, too. Michael whispered, "Your body is still a temple. Treat it like sacred space, not a burden." Angela began doing small things. She rubbed scented oil on her wrists before sleep and thanked God for her hands that had held generations. She let the water in the shower become a moment of consecration. She put lotion on her legs and whispered Psalm 139-14. "I am fearfully and wonderfully made." And slowly, her body began to feel like a beloved home again, not a tired machine. This is the embrace sequence. Permission to long again. Presence over performance. Physical sacredness. It isn't about romance. It isn't about fixing a marriage or changing others. It's about returning you to you, the part of you that Jesus has never stopped touching with his love. Angela didn't become a new person overnight, but something undeniable returned. Her soul stopped shrinking. Her smile became soft instead of forced. Her prayers stopped sounding like checklists. Her heart stopped apologizing for needing care. And as she sat in that third pew, something surprising happened. During worship, her friend Linda reached over and held her hand. Not in a dramatic way, just a squeeze of affection. Angela looked over, startled. Linda smiled and said, "The Lord told me you needed to be reminded you're not alone." Angela's eyes brimmed with tears, because heaven had touched her, through a friend, through a whisper, through truth. And that's how love returns. Angela woke up differently now. Not because her body felt younger, not because her husband had suddenly become tender again, not because her life had stopped demanding, but because her soul was no longer starving. She had tasted something more real than sleep, more nourishing than a nap, more healing than applause or compliments. She had tasted the embrace of heaven, and now she knew if she wanted to keep feeling that sacred nearness, she had to tend to it, not like a chore, like a flame. Archangel Michael returned again, quietly, as he often did. His message was tender but clear. Touch fades when you stop making room for presence. Stay close. Protect the closeness. He called it the flame of nearness, the very thing that once separated saints from the world. Not how much they did, but how deeply they remained in the presence of God. Angela wanted that, not just a divine moment, a divine lifestyle. And so, she began to live by what Michael called the 3 daily touch points. Simple actions that made space for God to reach for her again and again. 1. The morning embrace. No more waking to a to-do list. Angela began each morning now with what she called her 5 breaths with Jesus. Before opening her eyes, she would place her hand on her heart and breathe deeply 5 times, each breath paired with a sacred truth. I am here. You are here. I am loved. I am not alone. I will not rush past your touch. It took less than a minute, but those breaths softened her, anchored her, wrapped her in the stillness of God before the chaos of the day could unravel her peace. 2. The midday mirror prayer. She placed a note on her bathroom mirror. Have you been touched by love today? At first, it made her cry. Then it made her pause. Now it makes her pray. Halfway through each day, whether washing her hands or brushing her hair, she stops, looks into her eyes, and says aloud, Jesus, touch the places in me that feel unseen. She doesn't wait to feel holy. She just lets him meet her wherever she is. And he does. Because God never needs a perfect mood to make a perfect move. 3. The nightly reclaiming. At night, after everyone is asleep, Angela sits in her chair by the window. She lights a small candle. No music, no podcasts, just stillness. She places her hands on her lap, palms open, and whispers, "Everything that numbed me today, I give back to you. Every moment I felt missed, you saw. Touch me again, Lord. Let me rest in your arms." Then she imagines Jesus walking into the room, kneeling in front of her, and placing his forehead against hers. That image has become more real to her than the disappointment of others. Because even when the world forgets to love, he never does. These 3 touch points are not rituals. They are reunions. Daily places where heaven meets earth, where God reminds his daughters that being embraced by him is more than metaphor. It is movement. It is medicine. It is memory restored. Angela's family noticed a change. Her daughter said, "Mom, you've been glowing lately." Her husband lingered longer at the dinner table. Her pastor asked if she'd lead prayer for other women who felt worn down. Angela didn't say much. She just smiled and said, "I finally remembered I'm someone God still holds." And so are you. If you've spent years starving for affection, if your skin hasn't been touched gently in ages, if your spirit has grown numb from waiting, then today is not too late. The 18th of June can be the day you remember. You are still a woman heaven longs to hold. You are still worthy of touch. You are still sacred space. Angela's life didn't suddenly become easier. Her marriage still had quiet distance. Her grown children still moved too fast to notice the details. Her joints still ached when she rose in the morning. The church still called. The errands still waited. But her soul? Her soul was no longer starving. Because she had tasted the truth that the world had long tried to make her forget. Jesus still touches the untouched. And heaven never stops reaching for the weary. That evening, as she walked barefoot through her backyard, warm grass curling under her feet, she paused beneath her favorite tree. Hands lifted, eyes closed, and for the first time in decades, she said it aloud. "God, I believe I'm still lovable." The breeze that passed over her felt different, like a response, like an embrace that needed no arms, like the sacred exhale of a father saying, "Yes, you are mine, and you've never stopped being worthy of my touch." Archangel Michael spoke once more, not in words, but in revelation that flooded her heart. Love is not given based on the world's memory of you. It is given because heaven never forgot you. And as that truth settled in, so did the final invitation, the one you may need most, the one that feels hardest to accept. Jesus wants to care for you now, not when the kids leave, not when the marriage is mended, not when the body is healed or the church stops asking. Now, this very moment, he is not waiting for you to be more faithful. He's not asking for better prayers. He's not measuring your usefulness. He's kneeling beside you, wanting only to hold you, not symbolically, not poetically, actually, eternally, now. So here is the final action step. It's not a task. It's a release. Tonight, when the house grows quiet and the ache of being untouched returns in the silence, do this. Go to a mirror. Look into your own eyes. Place your hands gently over your chest and whisper, "I am not alone. I am not forgotten. Jesus, hold me now." Then sit. Just sit. Don't wait for fireworks. Don't expect a miracle on demand. Just trust that the embrace will come, because it will. And when it does, it will feel like remembering, like coming home, like love whispering, "I never stopped reaching for you." Angela now lives slower, not because she's tired, but because she's tuned in to the way God brushes past her when she lights a candle, to the way worship sounds when she sings from hunger, not habit, to the way her own heart softens when she stops apologizing for wanting to be loved. She is no longer ashamed of her need for touch, because she now understands. Needing love is not weakness. It is worship. So if you, like Angela, have not felt touched in years, if your heart aches in the dark and your soul trembles with the hope that maybe, just maybe, you are still someone heaven would hold, then let this be your promise. You are. Jesus has never stopped reaching. He has never withdrawn his hand. He has never turned his face. He is not disappointed in your longing. He designed it. And today, the 18th of June, he calls to you one final time. Come to me, beloved. Let me care for the one who's cared for everyone else. Let me hold you not just in spirit, but in the quiet places where you ache to be seen. You are still embraced. You are still beautiful. You are still worth being touched. And heaven? Heaven is already leaning in. Let it hold you now.